Merry Christmas. What else is there really to say? Today I wanted to do a video, Christmas themed, of course. We're getting into the season, as you can see. I did this myself and I'm kind of proud of it. Everyone told me they love it, even if you don't. Something I thought would be kind of fun to do was a Christmassy book recommendation video, but I didn't want to just do the, you know, normal like holiday romances, blah blah blah, because to be really honest with you, I buy those holiday romances, I don't enjoy them, I don't want to read them, and then I just have a bunch of like kind of bad romance books, and because it's Christmas themed in them, it's like I'm gonna buy it anyway, even if I know I won't like it. So I'm choosing not to do that this year, and it kind of gave me the inspiration to do this video for books to read at Christmas time or in the Christmas season that aren't holiday romances. Now, not saying that I'm not going to read a holiday romance, not saying that you shouldn't read a holiday romance, but just saying that we can get in the spirit, feel all those cozy warm feelings without having to buy like another 300-page romance, which is exactly the same as all the others we've read. So I've got a couple different categories to go through with you. First is probably my favourite actually, and it is old favourites. Now I think that going back into books that you read when you were a teen, maybe even younger if you like had like a high reading level when you were a kid, it's a really fun way to feel those nostalgic cozy vibes that Christmas brings through like your books and not having to just read like another romance. So some recommendations of that if you're anything like me. The Hunger Games is a great place to start. I think I'm going to reread these books anyway this year, just because the Ballad of the Songbirds and the Snakes just came out and I am obsessed with that movie. Side note, picking up these books made me realise, like, look how big that writing is. These are not as long as I thought they were. I thought I was sat there as a child reading fucking like 700-page novels. This is like a 400-page book with size 30 font. The other classic Divergent series, does that piss you off? Because it pisses me off a bit. These books are so well loved. They're like vintage at this point. Yeah, I can't really think of any others, but maybe like, I remember I read a series called Mallory Towers when I was younger. Maybe you could, like, you would want to get back into that. Maybe pick up a Jacqueline Wilson book, like Kafkatasy, you know, all of these ones that like, you're not going to pick them up on a normal week because it's like, this is a little bit like immature reading for me now, but the nostalgia of it at Christmas time, come on, it's worth it. My next category is comfort books. Now, this is kind of similar to old favourites. You know, there's a distinction between like your favourite dystopian series that you read it when you were 14 and like a comfort read. This is also like a really personalised category. Like, I can't recommend you a comfort book because I don't know what yours are, but I can give you some of mine and maybe you could get into them, see if it gives you the same vibes that it gives me. Truly Devious, very random, but I absolutely loved this series and it felt like a really like cozy, safe read, and I don't know what that feeling is, but I was in a little bit of like a not incredible headspace at the time and it felt like such a nice escape and like just a lovely thing to read. So I'd really recommend this series. Archer's Voice, I read this recently and it's just so pure and sweet and just like comforting. I would recommend that. Love Theoretically, this is like my favourite just nice little romance, so I think your favourite nice little romance is a good place to go. It just feels good, you know? Final one is Fourth Wing. Also, can we appreciate the cover? She's gorgeous. Yeah, this is my favourite book, so I feel like favourite things and Christmas go hand in hand because Christmas is the best time of the year. My next category, this is one of my favourites to be honest, is, they're all my favourites, I'm going to say that for all of them, but my next category is fairy tale retellings. I think the main reason that this gives me Christmas vibes is because of pantos, like, you know, your local do they do pantos in like other countries, or is that an English thing? If not, in England or anywhere, we do a thing every Christmas called pantomimes. Beauty and the Beast, Jack and the Beanstalk, Cinderella, all of these like, you know, stories that are they fairy tales? I don't know, but they get put on in like local places, whoever's putting on the pantos, and it's like really interactive with the audience. They sing like modern songs a lot of the time with the pantomime. A very comforting, cute thing, and fairy tale retellings kind of give that same vibe because it's retellings of stories. I have some recommendations for you for fairy tale retellings. First one is the most obvious, I think, to people. A Court of Thorns and Roses. This is a Beauty and the Beast retelling, technically. I don't know if I'd recommend it as much because, whoa, look at all that. If you're gonna read this, then you're kind of setting yourself up for a big series, but in my opinion, a really good series. So if you fancy that, it's a good option. I have a new fairy tale retelling. I haven't read this yet. It's a bit different. I think this is Hansel and Gretel. So maybe a creepier one. I don't know, this gives me creepier vibes. But my favourite direction to go for this would be an interconnected standalone fairy tale retellings, and Cassandra Odette does the Entangled with Fae series. I've read the first and the second one. This is Beauty and the Beast, this is Cinderella. I really enjoyed both of them. I read this one at Christmas time last year and it definitely gave me all the Christmas vibes. The whole panto connection could also just be a personal thing that I'm putting on everyone else because I read this in the car on the way to a panto. So that might be the connection. I also have Kiss of the Selkie, which is a Little Mermaid retelling. I haven't read this one yet, probably going to read it this year. This is a really fun direction to go that's got a little bit more Christmas spirit already intertwined in it than the other ones, but still not like a, you know, holiday romance. That's definitely, I would really recommend trying that because that is a good direction, I think. My next one is for all my romance lovers like me. If you don't fancy a holiday romance, why not try a cozy adjacent romance? What I mean by that is, I mean, I'm sure you already know what I mean by that. It's a romance that gives you cozy vibes, makes you want to sit next to a fire with a cup of tea or a hot chocolate and just snuggle up, have a good warm time. It doesn't need to be Christmas in the book for it to feel Christmassy around you. Got some recommendations for that. The Simple Wild. I believe this takes place in Alaska. I haven't read it yet. I'm gonna read it this season. It takes place in Alaska. That gives winter, which gives Christmas. Duh. When in Rome. This one I picked because the guy in it owns a bakery or a pie shop. The guy in it owns a pie shop, and that just sounds like the typical Christmas rom-com movies, which I can't lie, I do love those. And then Ghosted. I always pick this one when I think of a cozy romance. I don't know why. I think it's just because it's like feels very sweet and wholesome, like this guy coming back. Oh, should I tell you what it's about? I feel like I've told you on this channel what this book's about so many times. It's about this guy who's an actor who's basically left his high school like sweetheart with their kid. Nobody knows he has this kid, but he wants to go back and be part of their life. And it's very sweet, wholesome, cute. I think it's a good time of year to read it. Wow, I'm really like running through this. It's gonna be super short. That's kind of fun, just a quick short little video. Okay. Do I talk quick? My final little recommendation category is gonna be easy fantasy series. Now, when I say easy fantasy series, I specify easy because I wouldn't recommend like a big series like starting the Throne of Glass series right before Christmas, or trying like a Brandon Sanderson book right before Christmas. You know, that might be a bit intense, and one, if you don't enjoy it, you've got a whole series to read over the Christmas period, and the emotional turmoil of having to decide whether or not to DNF is going to be a bit intense for you if you're anything like me. And two, if you do enjoy it, then you've committed to this series for the whole period of Christmas, and that just feels like kind of an intense decision to be making over Christmas time. Does anyone know what I'm saying here? I'm a complete hypocrite because I'm reading Throne of Glass right now, but do as I say, not as I do. Easy fantasy series definitely is a fun option, because a lot of the time fantasies take place in like the forest or in the woods or in winter, and they're cold and they're lighting fires and all these kind of things, and it just feels kind of Christmassy. My recommendations for this: Harry Potter is an obvious one. It was going to fit into one of these categories. Something about the Harry Potter series just does feel Christmassy, especially the first one. There's like a whole Christmas tree scene in it, and it's so much shorter than you'd think. Look, it's just a cute little one. This is one of my favourite books I've owned because it's just so like well loved and creaky, and just Probably going to be reading this again this year just because it's so short and good and just cute, and it will just put me right in the vibes that I need to be in. My next recommendation is the Shadow and Bone series. I think the other ones are in my little stack back here somewhere. I read this, I think I got this for Christmas last year, and I read it in the lead up to January. So like I think I was reading it January 1st, like finishing it. And I've really liked it. I know people are a little bit undecided, but it feels like a low commitment fantasy series to read, and it has kind of wintry elements and like cozy, like things that make you want to wrap up warm. And a recommendation is Divine Rival. This is going to be a duology, I think, maybe I think duology. It's in like wartime, like I can't remember the years. It feels like World War II kind of like vibes. But there's a little bit of magic in it, like very little bit of magic. But something about that just feels kind of old and cozy and Christmassy. I don't know. Things like old things just feel cozier, which feels Christmassy. Am I crazy in that? I feel like something about historical fiction feels Christmassy. So that's actually that is all the recommendations I have for you today. Just, you know, I gotta do it to them. For my girlies that do want that holiday romance, I do have a couple that I think are pretty good, that I actually enjoyed reading. So if you're gonna read them, read one of these ones. Either way, whatever you want to read, just make sure it makes you feel cozy and warm. That's all you've got to do. That's all you've got to elicit. You don't need to read about Christmas to get into that spirit. You just need to feel the coziness, feel the warmth. If you're unsure, I'd just go for an old favourite, to be honest. That's where I'd head. Old favourites, comfort books, books you've read before that you know, just because there's nothing worse than buying a new book at Christmas time and you're like, oh yeah, this is gonna be so Christmassy, and then you just hate it. That's so fucking annoying, and it's a waste of my Christmas time. I only have so much Christmas time and you're wasting it. I'm gonna wrap this up here. That was very short. I think I'm getting quicker and quicker talking wise. Hopefully I didn't say too much, because half of the time editing is just me cutting out ums. So let's hope I didn't say as much. Or whatever, probably did. Okay, well, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you got a good recommendation. If you've got any book recommendations for Christmas, I would love to hear those, especially fairy tale retellings. Those feel like what I want to read this year, because I think I'm in my fantasy era. I always think I'm in my fantasy era and I never am. I was about to say but I stopped myself. I want to say it so bad. Oh my god, I want to say it so bad. See you again. I'll hopefully see you next time. Bye.